Hello, everybody. This is Vince Russo, and this is a very special edition of a bucket full of chicken necks. I have not done chicken necks in quite a while. So, for those of you that are curious as to what a bucket full of chicken necks is, first of all, I have no idea how I came up with the name. The name just came to me, a bucket full of chicken necks. I thought that was funny, so that's what I named the show. But this is a show where I talk about everything outside of professional wrestling, things happening in the news, things going on in my life, things that I just want to talk about in general. And there were a bevy of things. My list was piling up today. So I figured, you know what? Let me put a special chicken necks out there to talk about what's on my mind. And this is replacing On the Air with Vince Russo. And I got to tell you, I'm very disappointed in that show. And I'll tell you why. I wanted to create that show to be an open forum for people that have a tendency to talk about me behind my back, say horrible things about me, bury me, attack me. This was an open forum for them to come on a show and address me face to face, man to man. I did it, I think, for about 3 weeks, and there was not one call from any keyboard warrior, from any dirt sheet writer, from any Mickety Mark, not one single caller. And quite frankly, every caller, they were either members of the brand or they were either calling to kiss my ass, and that's not what I wanted the show to be. I wanted the show to be for people to step up if they had something to say. But as usual, bro, especially in this age of social media, there are a lot of people that are freaking Goliath behind the computer. But when it comes to a face-to-face encounter, they are non-existent. So I'm killing that show, bro, because nobody's accepting the challenge. With castrating the marks that you can get on the Realm Network, RELM Network, exclusively for less than $1 a week. And if you missed the show on Podcast One, bro, it's less than $1 a week. It's unedited, edited, unfiltered, and now commercial free, bro. So less than $1 a week to get castrating again. But nobody, bro, listen, I go on castrating every week. Give Meltzer the invite. Give Keller the invite. Give them all the invite. But no, bro, they rather just talk about me behind my back and bury me behind my back, because this way they don't have to discuss the one thing that they fear more than anything else, and that's ratings. So that's why we're doing a bucket full of chicken necks. There's a couple of things I want to hit on off the bat. Newsworthy that happened today. I just found out coming on the air, Joe Girardi has been ousted as the Yankees manager. And let me tell you something. I agree with this 1,000%. The fact that the Yankees saved his backside in that Cleveland series does not excuse perhaps the worst call by a manager I ever saw, when he did not ask to look for the replay on that called strike three. The worst decision ever made, perhaps in the history of managing. You know the story. Lindor came up next, hit a grand slam. Cleveland went on to win the game. That's inexcusable, bro. There are going to be a lot of Yankee fans. Oh, well, he got us to the next round and he got us to 7-game with Houston. I don't care, bro. The guy almost cost them in that championship series. That was a bad decision. And let me tell you something. When bad decisions are made, I don't care what field you're in, when bad decisions are made, you should be replaced. Much like every single creative writer in the WWE these days. I don't care who they are, bro. They should all be replaced because the product is just freaking horrible. But that's not what this is about. So good. Girardi gone. It's interesting to see who the Yankees bring in. I also want to say I read something today on one of the sites, and I believe this to be true, that Jeff Jarrett has officially checked into rehab. And if that is the case, I am ecstatic. I am ecstatic. If Jeff Jarrett needs help, I hope now Jeff gets the help that he needs. Listen, I've known Jeff for 20 years, and for a good part of those 20 years, I was very, very close to him. He was like a brother to me. I was close to his wife, and I was close to his kids at one point. I considered him almost a brother. And I know he's had some struggles over the last couple of years, and despite our professional differences, and they're out there. I've talked about them. I made them public. This is personal. This is personal. This isn't business. But I am ecstatic to hear that Jeff has finally checked himself into rehab. I wish him the best, bro. Listen, when it comes to hearts, Jeff's got a great heart. I say many times, we are all a victim of our circumstances. We are all victims of our environment. We are all shaped by the way we are raised. And there are a lot of things we really can't control. So I pray for Jeff, and I am glad to see he has finally made this decision. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about today. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. And I want to first start off by saying I am absolutely ecstatic about my move back to Colorado. I am back in Colorado. You can see I have a new backdrop. I've got my albums, I've got my DVDs, I've got my CDs, I've got everything displayed. I finally have internet, which is explaining why my picture is in HD. It's a lot clearer if you're watching on Realm. The audio is a lot clearer because the last 8 months I've been working off of Wi-Fi because that's all I could get in the log cabin. I am ecstatic living here back in Colorado. I almost can't even put it into words. My wife, Amy, and I got up this morning. We walked to the supermarket, the mountain air. I can't describe night and day from where I was. And there's something I want to say. I got to say this, bro. And people may disagree with me, but I'm telling you this based on experience. You hear the saying a lot that home is where the heart is. I got to be honest. I don't know if I believe that. And I'll tell you why. I think it truly matters what your physical environment is, because I truly believe that physical environment is going to affect your state of mind. It has to affect your state of mind because you're a human being. Now, I know when we moved to Colorado, 9-10 years ago, bro, here's the one thing I always say about Colorado. To just be able to get into your car and no matter where you go, you see the peace and the tranquility of the mountains. There's something about that. It just does something to your I don't know about your psyche. It just does. It's just a calming factor. Let me put it to you this way. No matter how you feel, you're pissed off, you're mad, you're aggravated, you're stressed, you're depressed. All of a sudden you're getting in a car and you're seeing these glorious mountains that only God could have created. And you realize the world is a much bigger place than beyond you. And there's just something about the majesty of the mountains and the green grass and the mountain air. There's just something about that. Well, when we moved to the Midwest and being there for 8 months, every single day going up and down the highway, the Lloyd Highway, for those of you who know there, it was just the broken down streets, the broken down neighborhood, the feeling of depression, the feeling of people not really seeming to care and settling for mediocrity. There was no life, there was no color, there was no vividness, there was no excitement. And it played a great part on me. And I'm not saying, listen, not everybody, listen, if you live in Evansville, Indiana, and you think that's the greatest place on God's green earth, even though there's no green there, if you think it's the greatest place on God's green earth, like Rudy Charles does, good for you, bro. Because if you're happy there, that's where you need to be. but your environment and your surroundings has a lot to do with your happiness. And just waking up in a certain environment with life and hope, that says a lot. So don't be a victim of your environment, and don't think you have to stay in the same place forever. And here's another thing I hear that I want to rebuke right now. A lot of people say you have to stay in the same place forever because of family. Let me tell you something, bro. Your family is in your heart. Your family will always be alive in your heart. Your close friends will be alive in your heart. And there are a lot of people out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. I had my best friend in the world, Jeff Iorio, who passed away about 10 years ago. I moved around the country. He stayed in Long Island, New York. Bro, we barely ever saw each other. It did not affect our relationship one iota. He was in my heart. I was in his heart. I always felt close to him. We were always there for each other. The difference in miles did not mean anything. Everybody knows my dad lives in Florida. Bro, if it were up to me, my dad would be living with me. But I know that's not the right thing, because he's got his own life. He's got his own friends. He's got his softball. He's got his bowling. And by the way, he bowled a 97 yesterday, which is so freaking embarrassing. I told him that he really needs to start bowling with a brown paper bag over his head. A grown man bowling a 97, bro, maybe it's time to hang up the bowling shoes. But the fact is, bro, the guy lives in Florida. We're not close to each other, as far as miles go, but I talk to him every day. I feel like he's sitting right next to me. The fact that we live apart really has no bearing on our relationship or on our love for him. I'm always there if he needs me. Now, maybe I'm not there physically, but I'd get there physically if I needed to get there physically, if it was a case of that. When my mother was sick, I went to my father's aid. I mean, that's what we're going to do. But here's the bottom line, bro. Here's the bottom line. I promise everybody out there one thing. Here's what I promise you. Regardless of your circumstances, regardless of where you live, regardless of family, regardless of, I don't want to say every excuse in the world, but regardless of every reason you can find of why you're not happy, let me tell you this, bro. You're supposed to be happy. First and foremost, God created you to be happy. He wants you to be happy. And if that means, bro, living in a different environment than the same environment you've been in your entire life, that's what it means, bro. If that means, moving away from kids and letting them grow on their own, that's what it means, bro. My son lives in Atlanta. I'm sure I'm going to have grandchildren in Atlanta. I'm sure I'm going to want to be close to those grandchildren in Atlanta. But the bottom line is, I have to do what makes me happy. You have to do what makes you happy, because unless you're happy, your entire life is going to be miserable. I don't care where you live, how close you are to family. None of that matters. At the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy. And there are a lot of people out there not happy. Okay, I was not happy living in Indiana, so I made a change. And there's a lot of you out there not happy that can make changes. You have the power to make the change. Don't be in an environment that's going to bring you down and that's going to cripple your capability of being the best you. Make the changes, bro. I hate to say this because it's so between the eye. Excuses are for losers, bro. It's really that simple. There's no excuses. It's your life, bro. You could do whatever you want with your life. There are absolutely no excuses, so I don't want to hear anything. So I just want to say, my point is this. You were created to be the happiest you that you could possibly be. So whatever that takes, it is. Okay, let me move on. I worked a convention in New Jersey this past weekend, Monroe, New Jersey, and I worked with a Kayfabe Commentaries. Sean Oliver, bro, this is an organization, God, that I've been doing business with now for a very, very long time. A top-notch outfit, very, very professional. Bro, when I talk about professional, these guys wear suits, bro. That's all I have to say. In professional wrestling, if anybody's wearing a suit, because the majority of us dress like hobos. I dress like a freaking hobo. Okay, bro? These guys wear suits. Top notch organization. I enjoy working for them. I went into work a convention for them, but we also shot the first 2 installments that are going to be available on DVD, I believe sometime in November, called Vince Russo's Attitude, where I'm going to sit down and I'm going to reminisce with those I worked with during the Attitude Era. The first 2 people on the first 2 DVDs will be Terry Runnels, of course, Marlena at the WWE, and Ken Shamrock. And I sat down with them. We had a great conversation. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Let me first talk to you about the convention. You know, I addressed Margaritaville last time on the show. I don't want to talk about Margaritaville anymore. I already addressed that. You know what I have to say. Let me talk to you about the old familiar faces that I ran into. Listen, I am not a fan of these conventions, and I'll tell you why, bro. Because I have to walk into these conventions and I got to start looking at these people. And now I have to start, going through memory lane in my mind of who's got heat with me, bro. Who's got heat with me that never confronted me and never said they had heat with me? I'll give you a perfect example. It got to me through the grapevine. The Godfather of all people has heat with me. Bro, why this guy has heat with me, I have no idea. I never said an ill word about him. I even said, bro, never took credit for his gimmick. I've always said, that was really a Vince McMahon creation. And I think, Charles Wright and maybe Taker even may have had a lot to do with it, because that's kind of who Charles Wright really is in real life, with the women and the money. So I never took credit for him, Always enjoyed working with them, always worked very, very well with each other. So I hear through the grapevine now, there's some kind of heat. I have no idea, what he's talking about. Bro, then there's the Hacksaws and the Lance Storms, and, we can go on and on and on. So I got to go through my mind. Okay, bro, who might have heat with me? Because none of the heat, was it ever a confrontation, an argument, a war of words, a face-to-face. It was never any of that stuff. The majority of it is, like I said, twofold. It's either people that I worked with that thought they should have been in a different spot than they were in when I was writing. Unfortunately, bro, there can only be one champion. Every freaking wrestler thinks he should be the champion, and rightfully so, they should think that. But one guy, the writer, has to decide, okay, this is how the pecking order is going to be. I think it's as clear as day. Politics did not scar my my ability to write or my reasoning to write whatsoever. It was always based on ratings and what the fans wanted, and that's what I went with. So it's always a guessing game of, okay, who do I got heat with? Why do I got heat with them? What angle didn't they like? It's such a freaking process that I don't want to deal with it. But then what happens is I walk into these conventions and I see a lot of familiar faces. And when I see them, I pop. Why do I pop? Because I'm happy to see them. Because I can sit here and tell you, I don't dislike anybody. Bro, regardless of what I do on this show, it's a show. It's a show. It's entertainment. When you're talking about personal feelings, I want to say I really don't dislike anybody, but again, I keep catching myself, and I gotta be honest. The only person I may dislike a little bit is Eric Bischoff, because I don't like the way he treats people. It's really nothing he ever did to me. It's just his attitude, and I'm better than everybody, and I'm smarter than everybody. And when I worked with him, that's the way he treated people. Now, maybe over the years he's changed. I don't know. Perhaps that he has. But when I really talk about I don't like that individual. And bro, I certainly don't hate Eric Bischoff. We're just two completely different people. But there aren't really too many people I dislike. Like, bro, regardless what Lance Storm says about me, I don't dislike Lance Storm. I don't dislike Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I don't dislike Chris Daniels. I don't dislike Bruce Pritchard. I don't dislike any of these people, bro. I don't dislike Jim Cornette. I really don't. I wish he'd leave me the frig alone, but I don't dislike him. But then I see those where my face lights up like a Christmas tree because I remember those good people that I worked with. I want to run down the list of, people I saw at the convention and were quite happy to see. I'm going to tell you a little something about them. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about these interviews with kayfabe commentary and something Ken Shamrock said to me that was very interesting. First of all, of course, bro, every one of these conventions you go to, bro, you run into Bill Apter. Let me tell you something, bro. When the end of the world comes, okay, and this entire planet is wiped out, there are going to be three things alive. There are going to be cockroaches because you can never kill cockroaches, bro. There's going to be Cher because you can never kill Cher, bro. And she will have a hit single in 2020 something, I promise you. And, bro, you can never kill Bill Apter. Bill Apter has been a part of professional wrestling from the beginning of time. Bill Apter is one of those guys, bro, that if you don't get along with Bill Apter, then, bro, you can't get along with anybody. He's a lot like my dad, bro. If you know him, you gotta love him. If you don't get along with them, then, bro, trust me, something is wrong with you. So every time I see Bill Apter, just the respect for this man pours out of me. The love for this man pours out of me. This guy is an entertainer at heart. I love hearing his stories. I said stories, bro, not impressions. His impressions get on my nerve. When he breaks into Jerry Lewis, I want to hammer the guy. Okay, but I love listening to his stories. This guy's a historian. This guy was a real wrestling journalist. And this guy freaking interviewed real people, bro. Bill Apter interviewed freaking Mickey Mantle, for crying out loud. Okay, so we know he's the real McGilla. So I love seeing Bill. I kiss Bill when I see him, bro. And I got to tell you something. With all due respect, Bill Apter, the guy's got the worst comb over, like in the history of comb over. You will not find a worse comb over than Bill Apter. I don't know why he just doesn't do the George Costanza, bro. Just shave the freaking hair in the middle, man. Have hair on the sides. It's not going to make a difference, Bill. Your comb over looks absolutely freaking ridiculous, my friend. Do something with the comb over. But Bill Apter is a national treasure. And I could tell you, bro, when the date comes and hopefully it's not a long time from now, when Bill Apter is no longer here, I am going to be very upset. I want to say that now. It is literally going to break my heart because I truly, truly, truly love this man. I truly love this individual. Bro, I saw a face that I hadn't seen probably. I left WWE in 1997. He wasn't there at the end. Maybe 96 was the last time I saw him. So do the math, bro. 21 years. I saw my good friend Henry Godwinn, bro. Remember the Godwins? Remember Henry Godwinn, bro? And, bro, I got to tell you, he wore his overalls, and the only difference was his hair had gone from black to gray. Bro, he looked freaking phenomenal. Now, I'm sure Henry is my age about now, but, bro, he was in shape. He was big. He was still a giant among men, very soft-spoken, very nice, and I was thrilled. Absolutely thrilled to see Henry Godwinn. Bro, Henry Godwinn, bro, he's a lot like if you remember Skull and 8 Ball, the Harris Boys. These guys, bro, could kill you. Like, they literally could kill you. They could literally take your life. They could literally make you squeal like a pig if they wanted to. But if you know them, they're the nicest guys on the freaking planet. Henry Godwinn was one of those guys. It was really nice to see him. And Henry was having a conversation with Animal from Legion of Doom, who looks tremendous. Joe Laurinaitis. And Joe Laurinaitis confirmed to me that, yes, he did throw his hat into the ring to be a trainer at the training facility for WWE. And they said thanks, but no thanks. So they weren't interested in having perhaps one half of the greatest tag team of all time teaching tag team wrestling at NXT or the training facility. So that's confirmed. That's a true story. And Animal also went on to tell me, Larry Francis, you are a pain in the ass, and you keep hounding Animal to be a guest on the show. Leave freaking Animal alone, bro. Leave Animal alone, because let me tell you something, bro. If Animal squashes you, like the mark that you are, Larry Francis, I don't want you to come crying to me. You understand? You understand, bro? You keep busting this guy's cojones about coming on the show. You're aggravating him. Why would anybody want to aggravate Animal? I wouldn't want to aggravate Animal, for crying out loud. Bro, next was a very, very interesting and fun conversation because, bro, I was speaking to the Broken Stinger, who is a member of the brand, a young man who loves Sting, paints his face, in Sting face paint, 26 years old, always talking to me about depression. So I pull this Yahoo aside, good-looking freaking kid, bro. And I say, first of all, please tell me what a 26-year-old is depressed about. You're a good-looking kid. You're an intelligent kid. You got the entire world ahead of you. You could take it by the balls and be whatever you want to be. You're going to talk to me about being depressed at 26 years old. Then he starts getting into me. I got floaters. Bro, floaters are like your vision screwed up a little bit and you see things float in front of your eyes. Bro, I can't tell you how long I've had floaters. I have a lot of other things to be depressed about. Trust me, my floaters are at the bottom of that list. So he's depressed because of his floaters, and he's got this physical ailment. He's got this. I'm like, bro, stop. I said, you're 26 years old, bro. You could be whatever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to be, or you can make excuses. Bro, there are two kinds of people. There are those that do it, there are those that talk about it. It's that simple. Grab it, bro. Grab it. You could be whatever you want to be. Then all of a sudden, I'm taken in a chokehold from behind. Who is this? Is this Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Is this Lance Storm? Is this a work? Is this a shoot? And I turn around, and much to my enjoyment, my glee, it was the great franchise Shane Douglas, who I haven't seen in a while. Bro, I love Shane Douglas. I love Shane Douglas. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Well, I know he's a Kiss fan like me. I know we went to see Paul Stanley together when we were at TNA with Dale Torbo. I love Shane Douglas. I've always loved Shane Douglas. And, bro, I'm going to tell you something. I was at TNA, bro, when Shane Douglas had his fiercest battle with his own demons, bro. He was having marital problems at the time, problems with prescription drugs, and he was struggling, bro. He was really, really, really struggling. And when everybody else wanted to kick him to the curb, I was the guy that said, no, bro, you can't kick this man to the curb because this man is a great man. This man is a loving man. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a great, great entertainer / wrestler. And he's a human being having freaking problems, bro. And one of these days that could be you. So, no, bro, we're not going to kick Shane Douglas to the curb. We are going to do the opposite. We are going to try to help Shane Douglas. And Shane Douglas never forgot that. And perhaps that's why him and I remain close. Again, bro, one of those things where I don't see him that frequently, but we are still very, very close. And now Shane and myself are talking to 26-year-old Stinger about freaking depression and telling him what we went through. And stop already, bro. Stop. You're 26 years old. You don't know depression, bro. Stop. Take your life by the balls, bro. Go out there, be whatever you want to be. You're a good-looking, talented kid. Do it. So that was very, very, very fulfilling, bro. That's what it should be about, bro. Two aging grizzly veterans helping a young kid with Sting paint face on. That's what wrestling should be about, bro. I saw one of my favorite people of all time. Bro, let me tell you something. And he's very high maintenance. I'm not going to make any excuses about it. But I love this guy. I loved him from the minute I started working with him. Bro, I worked with him back at the WWE when I first started. If you remember a group by the name of Techno 2000. Remember Techno 2000, bro? Well, bro, maybe because Bill Watts gave me my break in professional wrestling, and I never forgot that when I worked with Eric Watts, I was drawn to Eric Watts, and I was very close to Eric Watts. And a lot of it had to do with, at the beginning, like I said, what his father did for me. But as we grew a friendship, I love this guy. I love Eric. Bro, Eric Watts has one of the biggest personalities you'll ever see on anybody, bro. It's huge. He's got a huge person. He's a huge man, bro. He's still in great shape, and he's got these huge, grandiose ideas. He's always into something, bro. He's always bubbling over. He's always exuberant. And just that's how he was when he saw me and we laid eyes on each other. And it was great to see Eric Watts again. Bro, Eric is one of these guys. Eric Watts, David Flair. I can go on and on and on, bro. In the footsteps of a legend, of a giant, in this case, Cowboy Bill Watts, and in David's case, Ric Flair. Very, very difficult to exceed the expectations. But I can tell you, I don't care about those expectations. As a human being, Eric Watts is top freaking notch. And bro, you want to talk about creative? You want to talk about, rather than give these 20-year-old nameless, faceless hacks who don't have a clue about wrestling or how to write wrestling, rather than give them a job so they can get your coffee and kiss your ass, how about hiring somebody like Eric Watts? You want a creative mind, bro. You want somebody who knows the business. And the fact that Eric Watts doesn't have a job in wrestling is freaking ridiculous, because the guy's brilliant. He's like Dale Torborg. These guys I know are freaking brilliant, bro. They know wrestling like the back of their hands, but yet wrestling business doesn't want to have anything to do with them. You tell me, we'll both know. Bro, of course, I saw Rick Steiner, who looked absolutely tremendous. Bro, I swear to God, Rick Steiner was in better shape at his age now than I think he was in the prime of his career. I don't know how these guys do it. I honestly don't know, bro. Well, you know, bro, when I turned 50, I started really getting soft, bro. I remember once I was at the WWE and I took a big yawn and Triple H commented on my drum. I remember that, bro, vividly. And then as I got into my 50s, it's so hard to keep the weight. I don't know how these freaking guys do it. Rick Steiner looked like he could have laced up a pair of boots and been the main event, definitely on SmackDown, bro. I definitely would take a 55-year-old Rick Steiner as the main event on SmackDown before I would Sami Zayn any day of the week. And of course, bro, where there's Rick, there's the legend himself, Scott Steiner, bro. Bro, I got to be honest with you. Scott Steiner may be the one guy that when I see him, I turn into the giddy school child. I turn into the giddy 5-year-old kid that's so free. Bro, it's like, remember when the kids went to see Willy Wonka? And then all of a sudden they got the golden ticket. They're outside the gates. And then Willy Wonka comes out and he's hobbling. And then he goes into that forward roll. And these kids are giddy to see Willy Wonka. Bro, that's how I am when I see Scott Steiner. I get all giddy, like my freaking face blows up like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. I don't know what I love this guy. Here's why I love him, bro. I love him as a human being because he's got this aura, this persona as being this tough guy that nobody could talk to. Meanwhile, when you know him, bro, he's the greatest father, the greatest husband in the world. I freaking love this guy. He's got a heart of gold. Okay, but you got to know him to know that. And then on the other side, bro, you got the professional aspect of it. Bro, no promo entertained me more than a Scott Steiner promo. Nobody's promo, bro. Nobody. And I worked with the greats. Nobody. I was more entertained when I had a promo to produce with Scott Steiner. I would get so freaking excited, and I would give him nothing. He'd say to me, Vince, what do I got to say in this promo? And I say, I don't know. Just say whatever you want to say, bro. I gave him nothing. And anybody who wants to see the greatest promo of all time, just go to YouTube and check out Scott Steiner's mathematical equation of his odds in defeating Samoa Joe. The greatest piece of footage in the history of professional wrestling. The only thing that challenges that is maybe Fuji Vice and Fuji Bandito. This is the greatest interview ever in the history of the wrestling business. So I got to sit down with Scott. Scott now has a Shoney's in Atlanta, Georgia. He's opening up 2 more shonies. Very, very successful, because that's what people don't know about Scott, bro. You think he's all brawn and no brain. Very smart individual. Very smart, you know, business-wise. 3 freaking shonies in Georgia. You do the freaking math, bro. Oh, bro. Then I saw the beautiful Katrina Waters, who you know, Kat, who I worked with at TNA. I always love seeing her, that British accent, the black hair, the blue eyes. What a beautiful, beautiful woman. What a brilliant woman. You know, now she directs stuff. She's got something on YouTube called, oh, bro, I don't want to screw it up, the Red Light Diaries, I believe. I believe that's the name of it. But if you put in Katrina Waters, Red Light Diaries, brilliant, brilliant girl, beautiful. I loved working with her. I'm always happy to see her. And then perhaps maybe I saved the best for last. Of course, the great Bubba and the beautiful Velvet Sky are there. And these are 2 people. And bro, let me just say this straight up. Bubba's the biggest pain in the ass in the history of the wrestling business. Period. End of story. And anybody who knows him will tell you that nobody comes close. Nobody. He's a pain in the ass. Period. End of story. But you know what, bro? I love that pain in the ass. I've always loved that pain in the ass. Bro, I go all the way back to 96 or 97. I was a fan of his at ECW. You know, him and Devon contacted me about trying to get a meeting with Vince. The first time I ever spoke to him. And I arranged that meeting that I was a part of. The first time they ever met Vince McMahon. I'll never forget it. And ever since then, bro, I freaking love Bubba. And I love Bubba because, let's face it, he shoots me right between the eyes. You know, he always has. Sometimes he's punched me right in the face, gut punched me. Whatever it is that he has to tell me, he tells me, and I love him for that. And Velvet, bro, is just, bro, she's the closest thing to a princess you'll ever find. And I'm not just talking about her looks. Everybody knows Velvet's gorgeous. Everybody knows Velvet's got a gorgeous body. I'm talking about her heart, man. What a sincere, beautiful woman. And you don't know that unless you know her. I mean, bro, the way she would, the time she would spend with Marks, would freaking piss me off. But that's how this woman was. So anyway, you know, they got a thing going, which I'm still, you know, they live together in Florida. They've been a couple for quite a while now. I've been doing research. I think it's a work. I can't believe for a second Velva would go out with this King Kong-like individual. I think it's a work. I think it's been a work for some time. I'm still working on the case. I haven't uncovered the evidence yet. But anyway, bro, I see Velvet, and Bubba knows how much I love Velvet because I fuss over Velvet all the time. And when I talk to him, the first thing I ask him about is Velvet. How's the lovely Velvet Sky? Then I ask him about him. So, bro, Velvet's on the outside. Bubba's on the inside. I come around. I give Velvet this huge hug. And I'm looking over her shoulder as I'm hugging her. There's Bubba. There's Bubba. And, bro, I'm giving Velvet the camel clutch of all hugs. And I'm hugging and not letting go and not letting go. And I'm looking Bubba right in the eye. And the face is getting redder and redder and redder as he's getting more and more pissed at me because he knows I'm doing this to piss him off. But that's all a part of the thing, bro. That's all a part of the thing. And these are people I love. And there are many, 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 many other characters like this in the wrestling business I absolutely love. So I am thankful that I went to the convention. I am thankful that I got to meet, talk, hook up with a lot of these people. Let me talk about the kayfabe commentary shoots that I did with Shamrock and Terry Runnels. Let me tell you about Terry Runnels first. Bro, at the WWE, I was very close to the Goldust project, the Goldust Marlena project. I was kind of like their writer. So I was very tight with them. I went to the Conan O'Brien show with them, where literally I wrote the whole scene, bro. Even Conan's lines I wrote, and we had an amazing time. I got to meet Conan, you know, Andy Richter, the whole deal. They did an amazing job on that show. They did one of the nicest things anybody would ever do for me. Bro, they sat in first class. The WWE put them in first class. I walked to the back to coach. Bro, let me tell you something now for the record. WWE, WCW, TNA, 20 years of writing, whatever the frig it was. No, I never had one trip first class. Never. Never in my life, bro. I always rode coach. That was good enough for me. I'm not better than anybody else, and I kept my mouth shut, okay? I don't have demands like other people where I'm not going to stay at a Holiday Inn Express and I got to get first class. That's not me, bro. I'm coming to work to do the job. Put me in a room and fine. But anyway, bro, I walk past them in first class. I get to the back. All of a sudden, a stewardess comes and gets me and brings me up to first class because Dustin and Terry upgraded my ticket for me to sit in first class with them. That is something I will never, ever, ever forget. But here's something else that I'll never forget, bro. Terry Runnels, bro, was such high maintenance back in the day, bro, and high maintenance like, honey, you're driving me freaking nuts. Enough already with the hair, enough already with the makeup, enough. You're driving me freaking nuts. It wasn't the high maintenance that I hated her. It was the high maintenance. You're driving me freaking crazy. Bro, you know how like when a girl just looks good and then they got to keep going in hair and makeup and it's just freaking ridiculous? That was Terry Runnels in her heyday. Well, let me tell you something, bro. I find out 20 years later, nothing has freaking changed with Terry Runnels, bro. First of all, she shows up at the freaking airport late. She's late, bro. So me and Sean Oliver from Kayfabe Commentaries, we're sitting there waiting for her for a good hour. So she's late. Okay, let's say that's out of her hands, bro. You know, that's an airline gimmick. There's nothing she could do about that. But bro, here's the deal. She shows up talking a mile a minute. Why she's late? Blah, 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 blah. She's carrying about 6 bags, and she's pushing a stroller. Bro, there's a freaking dog in the stroller. There's one of those little 2-3 pound dogs that I freaking hate with a passion that serve no purpose. I've talked about this before. Bro, if you're going to buy a dog that you could throw around, that you could wrestle around with on the floor, that you could play tug of war with, that you could play fetch with, not a 2-pound dog. Bro, if you one of these owners of a 2-pound dog, why do you even have a dog? If it's only 2 pounds, like what good is it? Well, not only does she have a 2-pound dog, she's got a 2-pound dog in a freaking baby freaking carriage. And all I know, bro, within the first 5 minutes that I'm there, and I haven't seen her in 20 years, she's got me strolling the dog in the baby carriage throughout the freaking airport. You want to talk about being roped in? If my father would have seen that scene, I would have never freaking heard the end of it. And then, bro, we go to baggage claim. Bro, I'm not kidding you. She had 2 bags. Bro, keep in mind, she's there for 2 days. She had 2 bags that had to weigh over 100 pounds apiece, bro. What she put in these bags for 2 freaking days, I have no idea. So, bro, we go to my hotel because this is where we're going to conduct the interview. She's staying at another hotel because after our interview, she's going to work for another promoter. Next thing I know, bro, she's calling me on the phone that she needs to come up to my room to freshen up. So I literally just got in my room, bro. I wanted to shower. I wanted to get cleaned up a little. I couldn't do any of that now because Queen Terry wanted my room. So literally she comes up. I'm all disheveled, kind of like I look now. And I got to go down there and I got to conduct this interview for Kayfabe Commentaries. I couldn't shower or nothing. Bro, she's up in my room for an hour doing God knows what. We couldn't finish the interview. We had to schedule it the next day. She threw the whole day off. And I'm going to get to the next day in a minute, but I'm going to stay on this day right now. The great Ken Shamrock comes in the room when me and Terry get our first 15 minutes of the interview. Then she's got to go. Bro, Ken Shamrock is 53. The freaking shape this guy is in is freaking ridiculous, bro. It is freaking ridiculous. Again, bro, I don't know what it is, But like, you know, half of the WWE roster comes to my mind. How can Ken Shamrock look like this at 53 and Sami Zayn be soft in the middle and Kevin Owens have a huge gut? Like, how does that even happen? At 53 freaking years old, Ken Shamrock looks, talks, acts, carries himself like a freaking superstar. When Ken Shamrock walks into the ring, into the room, any room, you know he's freaking somebody, bro. There's nobody else walking this planet that looks like Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock looks like he belongs. So we sit down, we have a great interview, me and Ken Shamrock. We talk about what I had to confirm because I didn't know if it was a figment of my imagination or the truth, but we talk about him taking down the Big Show in WWE catering many, many, many years ago. We talk about that story. Then we get into something very interesting. And a lot of times, bro, when I talk to these guys, I learn things that I did not know. And when I learn these things, it puts such a different perspective on things. So I'm talking to Ken, and Ken starts telling me about his close relationship with Bret Hart. Now, I did not know that. I did not know Bret and Ken had a relationship. But it makes sense. You know, I mean, I could see those two personalities really getting along very well. He also tells me how going into the Survivor Series, when Bret Hart didn't want to lose the belt to Shawn Michaels, Bret suggested to Vince that he drop the belt to Ken Shamrock, who was his buddy, and he liked Ken. And I believe that. So Ken then proceeds to tell me after the Montreal screw job, everything went to hell in a handbasket real quick because he was in Camp Bret, in his opinion. He was part of Camp Bret. When the situation went down with Bret, Ken felt like he may have now been in the doghouse. Does this story sound familiar, bro, with the Enzos and the Baron Corbins? This is what happens with the WWE because on many aspects, it's freaking high school. It's not a professional business. Now, Ken proceeds to tell me, yeah, Vince, it went down from there, my contract and, what I'm supposed to get paid and this and that, and things they wanted me to do creatively that I didn't feel were in my best interest. Now, I want to back up. Earlier in the interview, we talk about an angle where Ken Shamrock had a match with Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, and the loser had to eat dog food. And we're going over this match, which I booked. And Ken reminds me, Vince, remember I told you I wouldn't do it. I hated the idea of it. I hated the dog food, this, that, and the other thing. Remember I told you I wouldn't do it, so we had to figure out a way out of it. Bro, quite frankly, I don't remember that, but I believe Ken Shamrock 1,000%. Bro, keep in mind, I've got a lot to remember. These guys are remembering like what they did at a specific TV. So there's no doubt in my mind, bro, we had that conversation. But that's pertinent to what I'm about to tell you. So now he tells me, yeah, bro, after the Bret thing, there was some things they wanted me to do creatively that I didn't agree with. Now, he never said, Vince, you came up to me and you wanted me to do some things creatively that did not to work. He said they. So, bro, the only theys I can imagine would be Jim Ross, who was talent relations and had the right to do that, or Vince McMahon himself. I don't know who they was, but it was obviously had to be somebody that Ken Shamrock had to answer to, and it wasn't me because we already talked about the dog food incident. That was me. So I said, Ken, what creatively? What creatively did they pitch to you that you didn't want to do? And he goes, well, first and foremost, they wanted me to have a match with China and wrestle China. And I kind of had a problem with that because I had kids. And, I didn't want my kids to see me fighting a woman and, that whole thing. So I had an issue with that. He said the second angle was they wanted me to do an incest angle with my sister, Ryan Shamrock, on the show. And Ryan and Ken were an item at one time, by the way. So in other words, an incest angle, since they were already an item, that might have been WWE's way, Vince McMahon's way of haha. Since they're an item and their brother and sister on TV will do an incest item. I don't know. But here's my point. I don't remember pitching either one of those angles. Now, true, bro, I could have forgotten. I've forgotten a lot over the years. But when I think about it on the surface, I first of all, I think about Shamrock and China. I don't know why I would have booked that, because Shamrock would have killed China. And, seeing Shamrock in front of me, not in his prime, I'm like, well, I don't know how we would have booked that, because it really wouldn't have been believable, because he would have killed her. Number two, bro, an incest angle with Ken Shamrock and Ryan, like where is that going? I know we were always trying to push the envelope and think outside the box. But I got to tell you, bro, I don't remember discussing that whatsoever with anybody. And again, bro, my memory might be working against me here. So, bro, I did the next best thing, and I called my writing partner, Ed Ferrara, to see if he had any memory. Because here's what I'm thinking. If Ken Shamrock was in Camp Brett, and now they had a falling out with Brett, and now, I don't know, bro, maybe Shamrock's looking for more money. I don't know what the contract situation is, but here's what I'm thinking in my mind. Were they pitching him such ridiculous things from a creative point of view, hoping Ken would say no, so then he would be in defiance of his contract? And meanwhile, those creative angles that are being pitched to him have nothing to do with the writers, because the writers did not come up with those said angles. So in other words, are they trying to get out of their contract with him, voiding their contract by getting him to say no to just the most ridiculous angles they could think of? That's what's going through my mind. That's what I'm thinking. So again, bro, I can't trust my memory. I could trust my memory 20 years ago when I was fresh off of these things and I wrote a freaking book, and everything in that book is a fact because it was 20 years ago. Now, 20 years later, not so much. So I call Ed. I talked to Ed yesterday, and Ed says, Vince, I do not remember coming up with either one of those stories. He goes, now the Shamrock China story, I could see that. He said, I could see us pitching that. He was in an angle with DX. China was impressive. I could see that. He said, but the Ryan Shamrock, Ken Shamrock angle, he goes, bro, I can't see that. I don't remember that at all. I don't believe we pitched that at all. Of course, we could have, but I don't believe it. So now, again, I'm sitting here, I'm wondering how many times, bro, and this goes back to who do I have heat with and why? How many times, bro, could a Jim Ross or somebody in that position, or a Vince McMahon or somebody in that position, how many times could they have pitched an angle that they wanted somebody to say no to, so they would be in breach of that contract? And that angle had nothing to do with Ed Ferrara or myself pitching it. We had nothing to do with it, but the talent did not know that. The talent assumed Russo and Ferrara are the writers, so they came up with that crap. How many times could that possibly happen now that I think about it? Bro, I remember Samoa Joe, who I had a fairly good relationship at TNA, all of a sudden hated me, despised me, was going on all these radio shows talking about me. And I finally emailed him and I said, Joe, what gives, bro? What gives? If I said anything negative about you, I apologize. I was in the wrong. but did I do something to you? And Joe proceeds to tell me that the angle where he was thrown in a van and kidnapped literally cost him of his career. And he wasn't able to come out from underneath that. It killed him. It was a career killer. Well, at what point I had to tell Joe, because, bro, I wasn't the guy to say a bad idea was somebody else's idea. I didn't play that game, bro. If we left the room and this was the idea, we were going to do the idea. So I never buried anybody for their idea. The fact of the matter is, bro, that white van kidnapping was from the brain of Eric Bischoff. That was his brainchild, and he was the whole thing. He was supposed to be kidnapped by Superfly Snuka, who Eric Bischoff said, I can get Jimmy Superfly Snuka to do this. Well, of course, Eric could never get Superfly Jimmy Snuka to do this. Eric could not figure out his way out of the angle. Who kidnapped Joe? Why did they kidnap Joe? So, of course, he went around, walked the other way, and, you know, me and Matt Conway, and I'm not sure if Ed was there at the time, but we had to deal with getting out of this. So for all these years, Samoa Joe was putting the blame on me for an idea that was not mine, and an idea that I did not come up with, and quite frankly, an idea that I questioned when pitched by Eric Bischoff. So now I'm starting to think, how many times did the heat go to me when I had absolutely nothing to do with pitching any kind of a such angle in order for them to get somebody to breach a contract and take the heat off of themselves? And that's wrestling, bro. And that's why, you know, I don't know who has heat with me. I don't know who said what about me to who. I don't know. And here's what makes it doubly bad: when those people never confront you. When they never come up to you and say, Vince, I got a problem with you because so-and-so said. They just assume the so-and-so part of it is the freaking truth. There lies the issue. There wraps up a bucket full of chicken necks. That's it, everybody. Remember, as I said, opening up this show, concentrate on making you happy. And you know what that is, bro. We all know deep down inside what's going to make us happy, whether it's location, whether it's job, whether it's children, getting married, whatever the case may be. Deep down inside, we know what is the key to our happiness. Well, you got to unlock that key, bro, because you got to make you happy. There's only one life. There's only one you. Make it happen. I will see everybody same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. Glenn Gilberti, Lions, Tigers, Bears, and Dirt. Take care, everybody.